What Minecraft servers are worth your time? It's been a couple years since my last Minecraft RPG serverless video, and in that time, so many cool servers have come out, major updates have dropped, new projects in development. After I posted my last video, y'all commented about an in-development server, and it's now the most anticipated project on my list. This time, there's an 80% increased likelihood that a Minecraft server on this list catches your eye. After all, that's why you're here, right? You're looking for something good. Maybe you're tired of the popular servers everyone plays, or you're bored of the same uninspiring SMPs. Whatever the reason, I was in the same position as you. And that is where this video comes in. How you doing? My name is Looni, and you saw the title. I've already done the research, so let me save you some time. First, I must set the standard for this video by introducing the two biggest servers on my list. Hypixel, namely their Skyblock game mode, and Minecraft. I've already talked about these two servers a lot in the last video, so I'm gonna save some time by just quickly going over them. Hypixel is a massive server with a ton of minigames that I want to talk about someday, but for this video, I'm specifically talking about their most popular game mode, Skyblock. If you're looking for a server that will steal well over 1,000 hours of your life, Skyblock will scratch that itch. This game is a grindy MMORPG that takes place in the sky.
Just like that. That's all there is to it.
It's called Skyblock, but it's not actually Skyblock, that's just the theme it uses before turning left into something way completely different. Since the last video, Skyblock has finally dropped its long-awaited foraging update, an update symbolizing the developer's access to the wide array of tools Mojang has added since Minecraft version 1.8. They clearly made the most out of their limited capabilities already, so now that their shackles have been removed, I'm looking forward to future updates. What I recommend is playing Skyblock just long enough to check out the Rift. To explain it short, the Rift is a dose of high-quality RPG game design stuffed full of unique objectives, an experimental yet immersive atmosphere, and features minimal amounts of grinding. There is some challenging stuff for people who want that, and of course there's optional work for the completionists. All in all, it's phenomenal work. It doesn't take very long to reach its content, and in my humble opinion, it's the best experience Skyblock has to offer, especially now since they've released the Rift's final expansion. I believe by the time you complete the Rift, you will have seen enough of Skyblock to know if you really vibe with the server or not. And if you don't like it, well, sounds good to me. The second largest game on my list is Minecraft. This server is complete with quests, custom classes with intricate ability trees, a terrible profession system that you should definitely ignore, dungeons and raids, secret discoveries, and whatever else you would expect from an MMORPG, like pay to win and cosmetics. Since the last video 2 years ago, Minecraft has had some big updates, including a major update that revamped raids and brought the world to life with a ton of new custom models and boss designs. Minecraft also finally added servers in Europe and Asia. Players all across the world can play with better connections now. Yippee! With Minecraft and Skyblock, you have the two big pillars that set the standard for this video. Competing with these servers is harsh. Most projects don't have the history or media coverage to be on the same level as these two giants. Yet, despite this, developers have not given up. There's some real diamonds out there, and I am proud to be the one that introduces them to you. Are you the one who seeks for the most gaming experience? I know a little secret, perhaps the most underrated server out there, and it goes by the name of Faceland is an MMORPG server developed by an absolute crackhead keyboard warlord. My dear friend Face Guy for some reason decided to spend a ton of his time working on a Minecraft server instead of using an actual game engine. And I can only thank him for that. Last time only barely mentioned the server, and now it's time to give it some proper attention. Dear Face Guy, I pray to you for some ultimate gaming.
Be gone!
A bunch of skills, bunch of quests, bunch of items randomly generated like the bodacious bow, smelly stick, a gamer sword. Out of any Minecraft server out there, this project makes the most out of traditional MMORPG design while merging it with an extremely polished modern quality. Look at this. This absurdly cracked item has a lot of stuff going on, like an enchantment, gems, you upgrade your item through scrolls, and this item is even more impressive than you think. This game also has a wonderful balance with how its professions are implemented into your playthrough. It's just naturally tied into your progression without feeling forced or only existing as a endgame activity. Faceland has an emphasis on build crafting and a focus on accessibility. It has a classless system where you instead level up individual weapon skills, allowing for tons of variety without being forced to replay through the same story quests over and over again. Faceland is a technical masterpiece and the man behind it is a legend. There is one problem though, and it's the fact that the majority of the server was made by one guy, single-handedly. Is a lie because he does get help from time to time, but I do literally mean that Face Guy only has one hand, and he's managed to get this much work done despite that. Minecraft server development sucks, and Mojang hates anyone trying to do something out of the ordinary. Optimizing server performance is a never-ending battle because this game simply wasn't made for this kind of impressive stuff. For any server like these, having a large amount of players hosted on one world makes for problems like lag, leading to increased server costs and design limitations. Now introducing a problem you've never thought about. Did you know when a player on the server is wearing armor, the full details of that armor piece, including the invisible NBT data, are sent through packets to other players, even though you'll never be able to see those details without a mod? This and other unoptimized Minecraft server things add up per player. Servers either have to design around this, introducing a design limitation, or they just eat the added cost alongside the many other performance issues that lead to limiting the amount of players that can exist on one world. Out of the countless optimizations, Faceland's answer to items is a simple one. All of the item logic is gone. Tons of item data is hidden inside the really convenient equipment menu, which is open from clicking an armor piece. And this way of doing things is even more significant when you consider how each individual player would be sending you useless packet information, further bogging down the server, and is just one more small but needless thing adding up towards reducing your world's total cost.
Lord have mercy.
Huh? Oh, come on! You gotta admit this is cool!
It just works. And these sort of considerations are made all throughout the server. It's hard to say where Faceland's limits even are, as it was able to run 70 active players on one world without lag during one of my streams. And since then, there has only been more optimizations. And that marks the end of my Faceland glazing. The truth is, Faceland is still in beta development. Time has majorly been spent on fleshing out all the systems in preparation for big group content and finally implementing a main story questline. Right now, most of what you can do is explore the ability and item systems and give the feedback that Faceland really needs right now. The player counts here aren't high, they haven't even started advertising their open beta, so I'm kinda pushing the ticket a little early here to help out a friend of mine who's making a genuinely inspiring server project. But enough of that! Welcome to Telos Realms, you insignificant mortal! Suffer 1,000 deaths in this unforgiving, hardcore, boss-rushing game mode, and transcend from your weak human flesh! For fame! For glory! Inspired by the roguelike MMORPG Realm of the Mad God, Telos Realms has evolved into one of, if not the most, action-packed experience Minecraft has to offer. Well, this just in, players have been spotted doing something very unusual. They're all staring at the ground. And that's because, oddly enough, you'll be playing a game mostly in third person. Very unique. Learning the mechanics, memorizing the patterns, from one boss to the next, growing comfortable within the chaotic bowl of hell, all while bearing the knowledge that dying means losing all of your items. But dying isn't the end. When you fall, your fame turns to glory, the currency of Telos Realms. You use glory to buy items off the auction house, like pets and mounts, or instead, maybe the more fun option, you could sink your glory into transcendence. This game has a collection of different classes, and they dropped a massive update that added skill trees to each one, meaning each new run will only take you further and further. But why, Looni? What's the point of playing this game? The point is that it's great, challenging group content, and you get to witness all this cool stuff! Earlier, I made it seem like you don't have much choice between either beating the boss or dying, but that's simply wrong. The game gives you a tool that allows you to escape any fight at any time. It's simply a matter of realizing you're screwed and getting the hell out of there. Meaning you have 3 options in a boss fight: escape with your life, beat the boss, or die trying. It's so hard to explain the value added from the server being hardcore. Many players will hear that and immediately lose interest because that's just not their thing. But for the people who are down for a challenge, this server is undoubtedly worth a shot. The atmosphere and aesthetic of the server had me thinking I found a gem the moment I first logged on. Welcome to Hyperborea. Unlike the servers I've talked about so far, this server isn't trying to be the biggest. Its only goal is to tell their short story, display its unique aesthetic, and leave you with a goddamn good impression. I made an experimental video for the server just so I could avoid spoiling the game, but it did a bad job promoting the server. This time, I'm gonna need you to trust me, alright? Hyperborea is an incredible experience, and I know I say this a lot, but this server is truly one of the best experiences Minecraft has to offer. Hyperborea is simply aesthetic, and it perfectly uses Minecraft as a storytelling medium. With a hint of Souls-like design to it, the boss and content difficulty is more satisfying than frustrating. The combat is enhanced through interesting enemies and unique weapons. And of course, the constantly changing environment keeps everything intriguing. The pace of the game is beautifully balanced, and there are moments when you'll just want to slow down and take a moment to look at the world. Horrifyingly beautiful would be how I describe it. This world has a unique grittiness to it and a cinematic aesthetic that matches incredibly well with the game's flow. The experience is compressed in a very balanced way where exploration, when given the option, doesn't feel out of the way, and it's definitely rewarded. There are plenty of secrets to be discovered, and have I mentioned there are multiple endings? As someone who has spent way too much time playing on servers that never end, it's a euphoric feeling seeing that end screen. Taking that moment to really let it sink in. This was one good-ass game. Hyperborea has challenge modes unlocked after your first completion, and these change your playthrough in more ways than just modifiers. My favorite challenge mode is Agony. You see, normally you regenerate health through killing enemies, but now that isn't an option. Instead, you only have a few specific ways to regen health. In return, you are granted a special powerful weapon named Separation. This challenge adds bonus content and story elements to the game, which is why I treat Agony as the true way to play Hyperborea. It's just an amazing server, I highly recommend it. Your first playthrough may take 10 hours, and the expansion content called Dark Omens takes around 3 hours. With the challenge runs, I got around 40 hours out of this game. A short and sweet experience that I can recommend to everyone. This is Megido Abyss, one and only server to truly capture the Dark Souls experience of Minecraft, featuring a custom combat system with a daunting amount of depth where you can feel the weight behind every attack and the consequences of a wrong choice. Mechanics like dashing, parrying, reading, and understanding your opponent's patterns, it has it all. And you'll realize it's extremely polished once you get past the uncomfortable learning phase. Yes! Hey, shut up and listen to this music. Take away the Dark Souls and what you're left with is a very well-designed Metroidvania. Exploration will not only reward you with items and experience, but also shortcuts. Shortcuts that will save you tons of time, because I can assure you, you will die many times. You're pretty damn good if you beat your first playthrough in under 100 deaths. That's the type of game you're getting into with Megido Abyss. And that is honest. I'm sure a lot of viewers just lost interest after hearing it's a hard game, but I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the niche audience of masochist gamers out there that feel something from taking on a challenge. Megido Abyss is a server, by the way. The most notable multiplayer dynamic is the PvP. Your first encounter with PvP will most likely be from someone invading you, and if not that, then maybe you'll be raided in the Gladiator's Proving Grounds. Your first time through the blender won't be enjoyable, but that's to be expected. It's part of the experience, and everything you have to deal with adds to the achievement. The achievement of beating Megido Abyss. I beat this game twice, so I've got my fair share of torment. Pro tip, if you manage to beat Black Hood, then you have what it takes to finish this game. Good luck. Adventure RPGs, MMOs, intense boss rushes. Y'all already know my taste for games by this point. I'm big into creative aesthetic experiences and crazy custom competitive content. Unique stuff that stands out. But how about something relaxing, like SMP servers? This server genre is super popular. There's so many SMPs out there that do their own thing, but it's usually just some small changes, data packs here and there, maybe a plugin for claiming land, the usual. The YouTube videos out there make it look fun sometimes. 2B2T is funny, I'm sure you've heard about this one.
The oldest anarchy server in Minecraft.
This SMP has one rule. There are no rules, resulting in a chaotic situation where everyone's hacking. And of course, the server's history is very interesting. Stuff like this I find entertaining to watch, but in general, I just don't vibe with public SMPs. None of them have that unique charm that captivates me. Was what I thought, until I came across Megido Abyss. This server is weird. Instead of a normally generated Minecraft world, this SMP takes place in a massive community-created map inspired by Megido Abyss, a story with an extremely intriguing world and interesting take on adventure and environmental design, which follows a group taking on this daunting, mythical abyss. And your mission is exactly that. Descend down into the abyss, get familiar with the new ecosystems, discover relics, and survive. The world of Megido Abyss is cruel. The further you descend into the abyss, the harsher the environment becomes. You are rewarded for taking risks with more and more riches the deeper you dive. But the abyss has another quirk, the Curse of Ascension. Take a look here. The abyss is split into layers, which can most notably be determined by the new environments, but also by new effects from the curse. Layer 1 is just slight nausea, Layer 2 is a bit worse plus some headaches, with Layer 3 you start hallucinating, in Layer 4 you start to bleed from every hole, and Layer 5 is the horrifying loss of your senses, which has extremely detrimental effects in real life, but fortunately for the player, this Minecraft server isn't as cruel as it could be. Despite this curse, players of Megido Abyss have accomplished some impressive builds. Big cities, beautiful towns, lots of spaceships for some reason. The map art museum is amazing. Here are the coordinates you should check out. The world itself also has its own massive story-based builds, so there's plenty of stuff to look at. Descending down the abyss is fun in its own ways. It is entertaining to come across the messages and things left behind by past players. You better craft yourself a load of signs, because oftentimes you'll pass by an impressive build and there will be a ton of messages saying, "I was here," and of course, I contributed to that. Most players just end up being tourists, and that's fine, but if the server does intrigue you enough to stick around, there's plenty of depth that keeps the content going for a while. The unique circumstances, like all normal mobs being completely removed, means there's some stuff you can't do, like making your own villager trading hall. Instead, there's a city on the surface called Orth, where you trade monster drops for coins, and this is how you get the strong enchants like mending. Progression is interesting in this sort of way. The city is also a great way to get blocks for any builds you plan on doing. Now, I will make it clear that this server does have some uncomfortable mechanics, like the curse, but also water doesn't cancel fall damage, and even feather falling was nerfed, which hurt my soul when I discovered that. You also can't set homes, and there's no /spawn for you to teleport back to the city up top. Interesting enough, the methods players use instead is just destroying their beds and then dying. Item drop isn't enabled, so it just respawns you back at spawn, and you can go sell and buy whatever you need, and then once again, make it down the abyss, gathering whatever resources you need on your way back home. And that's just how it is. It really does just make the player achievements just that much more impressive. Like my favorite build, a player-made town named Arcestein. I can't even imagine how long this took to make. Megido Abyss has the theme of a unique world that you won't find in any other SMP. And that is why this server has my full recommendation. Now, I understand if you're looking for a SMP, but something like this isn't your vibe, then I do have another recommendation. Origin Realms. This server is quite literally modded Minecraft, but without the mods. I don't even know how it works. This server implements its features in an extremely balanced and well-thought way, making every new feature feel purposeful and further enhances the experience, either solving some issue vanilla Minecraft has or creating more avenues for creativity. No way. They added the Aether? That's not even a contest anymore. This is the best SMP, no questions asked. Watch me and weep, worm. All biomes have been enhanced, including the Nether and Deep Dark. Look at that vine. This is the endgame of Origin Realm survival, the Blighted Badlands. This blighted biome requires some strong gear, and that's because it hosts a dungeon. the Spirit Spire, complete with its own boss. All these servers, and you know what we haven't seen yet? A big ass tree. Huh. Oh my god! Monumenta is the name of this next server, and it's a gate-kept cult classic. A non-profit community-made server with no pay-to-win monetization and some of the best replayable content in the entire Minecraft MMORPG scene. And despite not $1 being spent on advertisements, this server has a consistent average of about 100 or so players online. Monumenta's combat is awesome. Ability spam, tons of particles flying around, everything dying around you, overwhelming visual barrage. If you're a fan of Ultra Kill, then Monumenta's peak will satisfy that itch. Except, you know, instead of guns, we're dealing with the most insane use of vanilla Minecraft mechanics without dipping too far from what makes Minecraft Minecraft. Since that last video, they dropped even more content, including way more bosses. A Final Fantasy XIV type raid called a Hexfall, the Indigo Wool dungeon, which is just absurdly aesthetic, like holy, and best of all is Region 3's Celestial Zenith, a roguelite dungeon that has the best damn music in the entire game, and the content is just, they really got this stuff figured out. This video isn't over yet! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen! So far, I've only told you about servers that are public and playable, which is fun and good and all, but that's not all this video has to offer. There are 2 servers that I would like to introduce, starting with Spellforged. I talked about this project in my last serverless video, and y'all loved it apparently. It even has more members than my own community server now, and I think that's pretty messed up. The Spellforged trailer did the heavy lifting there, I get it, which by the way, if you haven't watched this already, then you definitely should. There's not too much to cover about Spellforged since my last video. They've dropped a few aesthetic videos for their soundtrack, some updates talking about their systems, clips here and there. The biggest thing was they started taking applications for their alpha playtest, so I recommend joining their Discord and signing up for that. Send them some love and hype, alright? Their development is momentum based, and they benefit from the positive attention. I got tons of comments on my previous video to check out the server, and damn, I really messed up. Get it! Check this out. There's a reason it's called Isles 2.0. This is the revival of an older server, one previously sponsored by the big dog himself, Bajan Canadian. I never played, but there's a bunch of old promo videos to watch. I'm gonna get sponsored too, Mom, just you watch me. From the looks of it, Isles 1.0 3 years ago was pretty much the child of Hyperborea, Skyblock, and Windcraft. Perhaps due to its similarities with RuneScape, the server managed a small cult following. Considering it was a small team with 1 developer and some builders, the server did great. The reason it was eventually shut down wasn't because of some drama or game-breaking bugs, there just wasn't enough content, and the fire fizzled out. Competing against Hyperborea Skyblock, which was popping off due to creators like Time Dio and Technoblade at the time, or against Windcraft with several years of development and a much larger team, Isles couldn't compete. But now they're back, and they've learned their lesson. A bigger, stronger team, incredible build quality, a plethora of entertaining grinds and reusable formats, big-ass bosses with great mechanics and a fluid combat system, professions that aren't completely boring, and the developers might just be a little goofy. It takes a lot of work to seriously compete with giants like Hyperborea, Skyblock, and Windcraft, and I think Isles 2.0 has what it takes to shake up the scene. And when this server does eventually release, I hope you'll be there to support them. Faceland, Telos Realms, Hyperborea, Megido Abyss, Minebox Abyss, Origin Realms, Monumenta, Spellforged, and Isles 2.0, a collection of unique servers that I believe deserve a spotlight, and I think I did a good job. But no, I'm not done yet. There's so many servers out there that I want to talk about. There's just not enough time. Oh! Welcome to this episode's Honorable Mentions, the part of this video where I quickly mention some servers and maybe other interesting things. I take too long to post videos, so I'm just gonna take this opportunity to talk about more cool stuff while I'm at it. We got a nice lineup here, so let's get started, shall we? This is Void Tales, an adventure RPG passion project led by Shin Sonoli. Inspired by the worlds of Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and Dark Souls, Shin set out to express their own creative story. I really recommend watching the trailer video they made since it'll do the server much more justice than the limited time I got here. They recently released their massive Reawakening update, revamping the new player experience and improving a ton of other things. Minebox, the best box type game. They got fish, swimming fish, shark fish, boat, very big boat. Let me drive a boat.
This is Phil from the Small Wiener Club.
Despite having a small dev team, they've managed to keep the updates rolling time and time again. It's a grindy game with unique content taking place on a series of different islands. But not Sky Islands this time, no, Ocean Islands, yes! This is what Hypes of Skyblock could look like in an alternate universe where they actually updated to modern versions of Minecraft instead of only dropping one island and nothing else for half a year now? Minebox just announced they're going to be shutting down and reopening with a new combat system and island extraction mode, eventually dungeons, so that might be interesting. The most quintessential feature of RPGs is not actually combat with bosses or world building with quests, it's fishing. This server is called FishOnMC, and all you do is fish. Armor progression, upgrading rod parts, pets, gambling for better passive area bonuses, all this so that you can catch bigger, rarer fish, win contests, and pop off during events. And that's about it. Yeah, the server doesn't have as much to do as other servers, but that's what makes this game comfortable in a way. It's relaxing, decent content to keep your hands busy while chatting or watching videos. This server is by far the easiest server on this list to drop in and pick back up whenever you want. And for the goal-oriented completionists out there, there's plenty of stuff to do and many different areas to fish in. Zebra, the server owner, told me about features they plan on adding, and honestly, if the server didn't already belong on this list, the future potential alone definitely earns it a spot. You know how some of the servers have those really cool models? Introducing Model Engine, a public paid plugin that supports model animations through Minecraft's display entities and other developer magic. What if I told you there was a story behind why this plugin was made in the first place? This is Tixo, the developer of Model Engine, and he had a dream to make his own game. Minecraft is not made for this stuff, but developers will continue to ignore that part, resulting in cool stuff like this. Inspired by Dragalia Lost, a co-op RPG mobile game, ArcanimaFable will feature some very interesting boss fights in a way none of us have ever seen done in Minecraft. This server isn't out yet, in fact it was a big secret until now. Stay tuned and let's cheer for their continued development. Okay, so what if you took Heroes of the Storm, but made it in Minecraft? This is Nuvgard Heroes, a competitive team PvP game mode where your objective is shattering the enemy team's core. You have a cast of heroes to choose from, with each hero having its own team role and matchups, and somehow they managed to implement the custom abilities alongside normal Minecraft PvP in a very interesting way. My team won the weekly tournaments several times, so you could say I'm a bit of a fan. I made a guide video with some high effort edits, so you should definitely watch that.
Time for another round.
Judgment.
Yeah, sharing all of these cool things, I kinda just wanna keep going. Look, y'all, there's a bunch of servers out there that deserve your attention, and the best way of staying connected with the Minecraft RPG scene is by joining the Crossroads Discord server. We're always looking for new servers, especially if there's any insane Bedrock Minecraft servers, we're still looking for one of those. We have one heck of a catalog, and wait a second. Maps? Like single-player Minecraft maps? I know the point of this video was Minecraft servers, but guess what? The whole point of this channel is to show off the cool stuff being made in Minecraft. If your internet sucks, play these instead. There's a load of maps I haven't gotten to yet, so I'm sure this list is gonna keep filling up. But for now, let me highlight some that deserve attention. Final Paradox. Say hello to my favorite map in the CTM genre. This adventure map is astounding. I got tons of hours out of Final Paradox while playing with a friend, and really, it's my go-to recommendation for CTMs. Oh look, a netherite hat. Souls-like adventure map, woo! Your quest is to find a way to take this damn helmet off, and for some reason, you have to kill a ton of people on the way.
Behold, the power of an angel! That's the best you got!
I don't even need to explain this game, but I will mention that you get a special role in the Discord server if you beat their hardcore challenge mode. Good luck! Look, you guys aren't gonna like this, but I've never played Undertale before, and now I don't have to because this famous guy is recreating Undertale entirely in Minecraft. Is this legal? Probably not, but whatever. This map is extremely technically impressive, and that's worth celebrating. Except there's one thing. Every single project on this list so far hasn't required a single mod. But this Undertale map does! Hold on! I never said no mods was a requirement in the first place. It's just most server developers don't use mods for their projects because it reduces player accessibility. Not a problem though. You just need to install the mod and launcher like this. And well bam, you're now ready to play Undertale in Minecraft. Mods are cool and I'm fine with projects using them. It's a whole world of content that I still need to get into. And also, I've been looking forever for a cool modded server with actual structure, so please, let me know if one of those exists. Let the Steam guide you to this Hades-inspired, adrenaline-maxing smash fest where you annihilate everything that crosses your path. Atmos is the name, and this adventure map is one hell of a treat. All of the animations are vanilla. No mods are required for this. I told my developer friend about this game and he got pissed off about how much effort went into this. That's the kind of map we're dealing with here. Blast through the content with the many available weapon types and find what suits you best. My favorite is the Brawler, and it's goddamn glorious. And now, without further ado, it's time to end this video off with a feel-good montage. Thanks for watching. Nuanced mechanics of minions.
I don't want to be